Alright, I'm having some internet connection issues, so I decided I'll just record this video and upload it. I wanted to do it live, but the internet will not allow me to do that right now. So I was just trying to tell the story of when I was in an accelerator, I was a co-founder and CTO for this machine learning startup. It was funded by Anheuser-Busch. And we were, it was a lean startup themed accelerator. And I was excited because I had done a lot of lean startup themed things in the past. I'd read the book several years earlier. I'd gone to the Lean Startup Conference. I'd done a Lean Startup Machine. And basically, I was excited to be in an accelerator that was lean startup themed because I'd figure, where best to learn how to start a business than an accelerator, right? That's like the point of them. But around the same time, I had just worked for some digital marketers building $1 million funnels and focusing really a lot on marketing. And I was pretty confused because although we were being taught all of these things in the lean startup, they didn't align at all with what we were being taught, what I was learning through trying to understand marketing and working for digital marketers. And I was just very confused about why an accelerator would be so different. Like, why are you not covering the marketing parts? And that just didn't make sense to me. It wasn't until a few years later that I got the answer to that. And the time that the light bulb really clicked and I really understood why was when I heard a quote from a man named Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker was a marketing and business maverick from the 50s. I think the show Mad Men is about him, but I didn't really watch that show, so maybe not. I don't know. I think it is. Could be wrong. And anyways, Peter Drucker said that business is marketing plus innovation. And that's when I realized that the lean startup, and as an engineer, everything that I'd ever worked on as a job was entirely in the innovation side of the equation. I had never focused on the marketing side, and I actually didn't really even realize that there was a difference. So why would an accelerator teach the innovation side but not the marketing side? Well, turns out that this actually makes sense, because if you take a step back, there's this concept called the cash flow quadrant. And it essentially is the idea that as an entrepreneur, you're moving through these 4 different stages to become, you start as, in the top left corner, a employee, then you move down to the next quadrant, which is, there's a boat under us that's being loud. You move under to the next quadrant, which is self-employed. And then past the self-employed, once you move beyond self-employed, you become a business owner. And finally, you become, in the bottom right quadrant, an investor. So how does one move through the cash flow quadrant? Well, the answer to that is that at every single stage of the cash flow quadrant, there is an increased amount of leverage. So how does one create leverage? Well, let me ask you a question. How much weight can you lift? 50 pounds? 100 pounds? Now, as you're thinking about that, notice I did not say that you are not allowed to use a system. If you can use a system, such as maybe a pulley, for example, how much weight can you lift? 500, 1,000, 10,000 pounds? Well, why is that? It's because systems create leverage. And with leverage, you can do more with less. So, to move through the cash flow quadrant, you need to create or obtain systems. And so you start having a job, eventually you become self-employed, and then you own a job. And at that point, you start creating and obtaining systems, maybe by engineering them, maybe systems designed to attract leads, maybe systems designed to convert leads into customers. And eventually you start obtaining these systems, and as a result, you have more leverage. Eventually you have enough leverage that you have systems for all the different parts of your business. So you move from self-employed, where you own a job, to business owner, where you own systems, right? That's how you create an asset. When you have something that goes and makes money for you, you have enough systems that you become a business owner rather than self-employed. You're able to remove yourself out of the equation and have systems, which consist of people, processes, and things, and tools, rather, people, processes, and tools, to do those things for you, to get those results consistently. And the next step is, seems how you have an asset, you generate money from that, and you move, and eventually you become an investor. But what happens to the systems once you become an investor? Well, they don't disappear. You still own the systems. You still know which systems you need. And you can take these systems, you can take ideas and products, and you can put cash into them, but you can also take products and insert them into your system. So the question is, how could an accelerator not care about the marketing side? Well, Anheuser-Busch and a lot of accelerators are funded by corporations. They don't care about that because they already have ridiculously huge marketing departments, right? The accelerators are literally focused on the innovation. And then if they prove to be good ideas or good products, they can take them and put them into their marketing systems. The same thing happens on Shark Tank. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, you'll know Lori or Barbara, I forget which one, has QVC. That's one of the systems that she owns, or at least partially owns. And she'll see a product that can go into her QVC system and be like, yes, I can blow that up. Like, I'll take that product, put it over in QVC, and it's gonna explode, right? So investors have money, but they also still have systems. And that's a huge part that a lot of people miss. So a lot of times accelerators, which are funded by corporations, those corporations that are funding them, they have systems. So the accelerator is actually only focused on the innovation part. So that's where that disconnect comes from. I just want to tell another quick story about like the power of having these systems in place, which are, I was working for these digital marketers and I was their employee. They had a designer, they had people who ran Facebook ads, they had copywriters, and they had themselves to pay. So they had a team, right? At this point, they're making 7 figures a year. To grow past there, like, you can't do everything on your own, you hire teams. And they came to me and they said, Patrick, we have a problem, and that problem is we can't pay you. And the reason we can't pay you is we've had this mishap with our taxes. It's a Canadian company. and the Canadian government has frozen our bank accounts, and we don't have access to any of our money. So we can't pay you, we can't pay our designers, and we can't pay ourselves. Like, all the money is frozen. Fortunately for them, they had something. And that something they had was marketing and sales systems, and a huge list of people who they've acquired through their lead generating systems. So they decided, well, it's pretty important that we pay people. So they said, we need to create a new funnel, launch a new thing, so we can make extra money this weekend and we can pay you and pay everything. So I had to make a new funnel and launch it so I could get paid. And they did it, and we did it together, right? I created the funnel, they put the content together, they pulled the products, like, you know, they handled the distribution side of it, I handled the tech side of it, they had a designer that designed it, and we pulled all of these things together and launched it through their systems that they'd had already established. And that weekend, they were able to make an extra $128,000 and pay me and pay all of the other employees. So as an engineer, your job is to make systems for other people. But instead, I want you to think about what happens when you stop making systems for other people and start making systems for yourself. And it's something you can start doing on the side, right? As you work your job. It's not something that just happens overnight. It's kind of like a video game where, like, you need 10,000 experience points to level up, right? You can work towards there. The level up's not going to happen all at once. But as long as you're creating and obtaining systems, as long as you're engineering systems that give you leverage, you are progressing through that cash flow quadrant. So you can just make a little bit of progress every day, and eventually you'll have enough systems that you can level up to the next quadrant in the cash flow quadrant. So stop making systems for other people and start figuring out what systems you need to make for yourself and how you can build them for you, so you have the leverage. And then you can escape that 9 to 5 and have all the freedom you want. That's all I have for today. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm sorry that the internet sucks and this wasn't live. I'm gonna upload it now, so I'll talk to you all later. Bye.